What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Card Hedge Podcast. You'll notice it's just JD right now. I'm flying solo as I wait for Omar to get back from getting his hair done. In the meantime, we don't generally do a lot of interviews on the channel, the podcast anymore, but we have a special guest tonight because we've come across a new company, website, tool for collectors that we both feel is potentially a game changer, and we wanted it to share with you guys. And we're very happy to have our guest tonight, who is the CEO of said company. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mr. Ezra Levine. Ezra, what's up, buddy?
What's up, JD? How are you? How's everything?
Living the dream, brother. Living the dream. So, for those of you that are familiar with StreamYard, you have the little backstage thing or whatever, and Ezra and I were having some dad talk, and we're both in a race. Neither of us wants to win. I have 4 kids. He's got 3 he's got a third on the way. So congrats there, man. But a guy I worked with many years ago, he has 5 kids, and he told me, hey, look who it is, everybody. There, I just introduced you as getting your hair done. So he's back from his perm. He's back from his perm.
There's no perm here.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
It's all natural, luscious locks. Don't be a hater.
Yep. So I was just welcoming our guest there, buddy, old pal Ezra, onto the show.
How's it going, Ezra? Sorry, guys, for the delay, man. We had last minute business we had to attend to.
Yeah, it's all right. We told everybody about what your dealings and everything. So I gave them your bank account and your social security. So
I hope not too much, because
nothing.
I have to retain some plausible deniability.
Yeah. So Omar, you literally just joined as I was introducing Ezra, and Ezra. So you are this new CEO of a company called Mascot, and before people get confused and start thinking about like the Georgia Bulldogs and the Florida Gators and things like that, why don't we start there? What is Mascot? A little bit about your background, maybe how you got involved with Mascot, if what you can share and whatnot, and let's go from there, because I'm curious to hear about how does one become a CEO in the sports card industry?
Well, first I'll say you're right on the kid front. I have 2 kids. We have a third coming, but that is a race that I'm very happy to concede to you. Yeah. Do not think I'll be having the 4th. If I do, I probably won't be the father. So, on the CEO of a sports,
he's already fitting in, Omar. He's already fitting in.
It's funny. I was talking to my parents the other day, and they were like, when you were 8 years old, you and your brother, were collecting sports cards back in the 90s, and you used to set up little, almost like mock fake card shops in your bedroom. I shared a room with my brother growing up. Yeah. Like, how fitting is it that like you've kind of re-landed back in this
full
world?
circle.
If we told you what you'd be doing now when you were 8 years old, you'd say, oh, this is the American dream. So exciting to be, I've been in this industry now for about, 3-4 years, and it's fun. With Mascot, so Mascot, you're right. It's not a, sort of a sports mascot. It's not a Georgia Bulldog. I went to Michigan, so it's not a Michigan Wolverine. The Michigan doesn't really have
you're a Wolverine?
I am a Wolverine.
Dude, we Michigan are best friends. We are best friends.
Go blue. Go blue. Mascot, we were trying to pick a name, so for a little, I'll rewind a little bit. We took over a company called Slabfolio. Slabfolio has been on the market for about a year and a half. And I came across Slabfolio actually at last year's National and got a quick demo from one of the co-founders named Junio. And, there were things about it that I didn't love. I didn't love, kind of the kind of UI, UX of it. But I thought, holy crap, this is a platform that I really got and I really saw and I thought had a lot of potential. So when the opportunity came up to me, I said, let's go. I think this is something that could really become, as I've been calling it, kind of the central operating system for collectors, right? This is something that, people can really use to manage their collection, to optimize selling their collection. And there's just so many use cases, no matter who you are, what your participation is in this industry. If you're a card shop, if you're a breaker, if you're a collector, if you're a dealer, you're a marketplace, you're a grading company, you're a content, company or data, whatever it is, Mascot has applications. So Mascot We were not that smart when we came up with the name Mascot. We just happened to like the name Mascot, to be candid. And had a call with Dr. Beckett, who I consider a friend and a mentor in this space. Obviously, I don't think there are better CEOs in the kind of sports collectibles world than Dr. Beckett. So I try to talk to him as much as I can. And I told him the name, and he goes, "Oh my God, you did it." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What a great acronym." I said, "It's not an acronym." He goes, "No, Mascot, multi-sales channel technology." And I said, "You know what? I'm going to steal that. I love it." Mascot. We refined it a little bit. Mascot is multi-asset sales channel optimization technology. It rolls right off the tongue. It's perfect.
Nice. Yeah.
But,
say that 5 times fast.
Exactly. But there's really 2 parts of Mascot. Number one is a free inventory management solution for collectors. We partnered with all the major data companies in this industry, so you can essentially just track and manage your collection really easily. If you come in and you just put in a serial number, it'll pull in all the metadata of your cards. Very cool. Just type in your serial number, all the data, what it is, who graded it, what year it is, all that data will come up. High-res images come up. You can also do this in bulk, so you can drag and drop. I did this earlier today. I got about 1,000 cards just as a test. The whole thing really sunk in less than a minute. Really cool. You could also take a spreadsheet that you have. If you have a spreadsheet, drag and drop it in. Your whole collection will populate. All this takes, seconds, if not a minute. It's really sleek, really cool. The second part is a multi-sales channel tool. So we've integrated right now with eBay, MySlabs, Shopify, which gives you access to sell on Amazon, any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. We have other partnerships with marketplaces coming down the road soon. So the idea really is to maximize eyeballs. When you're a seller, you really want 3 things, right? You want to maximize eyeballs. You want to get, the quickest sales. You want to get the best price sales. And our view is that by sending this to multiple places, not just one marketplace, you will essentially expand how many people can see your items and ultimately lead to faster sales and hopefully better sales.
So when you say I can add a card with a serial number, right? Can I add, what about the raw guys out there? Can you add raw cards?
When we took over Slabfolio, it was just graded sports cards. One thing we've done in the last couple of months, and this kind of rebrand for Mascot, is we've added the ability to do raw. So you can submit raw via a CSV file or manual. You'll see that now. We've also expanded to comic books and TCG and non-sports cards. Other categories, we built the platform so other categories can be supported. Hopefully, in the next couple of months to next year, pretty much as many collectible categories we can get on the platform will be supported.
All right. So that was one of the questions I had kind of like later on. But I'll ask it now. As the CEO, as the guy in charge, you're talking about being able to add new categories of assets and things like that. If you could have your pick and it was solely your decision, what category would you add? Would Ezra add next to the site?
Great question. Well, I would say the number one most requested, not necessarily what I want the most, but the number one most requested has been wax. And we're getting
that's good.
We're getting that request a lot from breakers, from card shops, people who have a lot of inventory now, especially with Fanatics' new rules, around tracking a lot of data and engagement and channel selling, all that good stuff. People are really looking for a solution to be able to track that all in one place. Mascot has pretty much all those tools, sort of at the ready, all for free. So wax is something that we're going to be pretty focused on, I would say, in the near future. I'm also a memorabilia guy. I happen to like memorabilia a lot. I've always been kind of fascinated by some of the dislocations in kind of card prices versus memorabilia prices. So we went pretty hard into memorabilia over the last couple of years. And you're starting to see now, some of the money flows, if you will, within collectibles start to shift more towards game on. People are realizing it doesn't really make sense why a small little patch of a jersey sells for 10x more than the actual entire jersey itself. So more rational, reasonable heads went out there. So I would love memorabilia. Obviously, memorabilia is a trickier category, just in the sense where it's not as commoditized. Everything's a unique one-on-one. From like an inventory management standpoint, from a product standpoint, probably one of the tougher integrations. I also love tickets. I just find tickets to be fascinating. There's a ticket right behind me right there. It's the only one I have right in this room at this moment, but it's Game 7 in the '94 Stanley Cup when the Rangers last won the Stanley Cup.
Oh, nice.
It's a cool New York childhood memory of mine. So tickets would be fun. Tickets are pretty easy to do. Photographs are easy to do. But ultimately, we want to be in as many categories as we possibly can.
That's cool.
That's interesting. The you mentioned the whole kind of disconnect between buying a patch autograph card versus buying the whole. that was such a. It was one of those situations where I'm like, what am I the crazy one here, or am I the only one seeing this? And we obviously JD and I have a partner with Lou who does pretty heavily in the sports memorabilia side, and I was like talking to Lou, I'm like, am I crazy? And he's like, no, you're not crazy, but if you want to get into it, now would be the time because nobody's really paying attention. So that's
I think I can take credit for this on this podcast. I think I was the first one to convince Lou to start buying memorabilia.
Oh, that's
you may have been because you did create a monster, by the way. He's got some ridiculous stuff. He sends us pictures and we're like, oh yeah, where did you find that? Like, never even first of all, I didn't even know that existed, and then how did you find that? But you have Jordan created socks? A monster.
Like Jordan socks? How did you get Jordan socks?
The hard part for me with the memorabilia piece is like outside of my little man cave here. Like if I went and hung like a Jordan jersey or something framed in my living room or something, my wife is going to take it and chuck it in the backyard, and then I'm going to get divorced. You know what I mean? So like I think that's the hard part with the memorabilia. Card I can keep to myself. And
seems to be what like when you kind of drill down on like why do these cards sell for more money than the actual game worn jersey? It seems like that is the retort, which is it's just easier. Yeah. It's easier to hold. Yeah. You don't have to frame it. You don't have to, it's just like more commoditized and kind of smaller to hold on to, which seems to be like the only rational answer that I've heard.
Plus,
where are you going to store 50 jerseys, right?
Right.
It's like, I got 50
people
RPAs,
out there, man.
It's like I got 50 RPAs. I'll put them up on the wall over here and some, display them in some, way, shape, or form. But 50 jerseys, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? It's like I'm not going to wear them.
So back to Mascot. You mentioned when you first were describing the company, you talked about benefits for collectors and dealers. I was going to ask about breakers, but I don't break. I know a lot of people do break, so I guess we can lump them in. So like for the average Joe collector like myself and Omar, how does outside of the inventory management, right? Now, I would be a fool if I didn't mention you guys have partnered with Card Hedge, and I haven't heard this yet, so I'm going to be the first one to ask this question. How is Card Hedge going to eventually be integrated into the site? I'm curious on that end because, like right now, I have a card listed, but I don't see anything. So I'm assuming that Card Hedge is going to be used to show real-time pricing data for people like myself and Omar to say, oh, all right, that card is going for $100. I'm listening right now. Am I on the right path there?
Spot on. Yeah. So the Card Hedger integration should go live hopefully next week, I would say, in and around the national time. We've been sprinting to get the product ready to go. So that is probably the next feature that's going to be rolled out when people check Mascot, probably in about a week or so from now.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're spot on. The logic was when people have a lot of inventory, and we have probably 35, 40 million bucks of inventory already in the site, about 30,000 cards, not just cards, 30,000 items already listed through Mascot. People want to know what their stuff is worth.
Mm-hmm.
So when they upload their stuff, essentially you'll get like an estimated value or last comp data pulled in directly from Card Hedger. And then if you want to see more data than just one or two last comps, you'll click into a Card Hedger layer. Is it Card Hedge or Card Hedger?
Card Hedge. So the company is Card Hedge. The problem why that gets confusing, when we got the domain name, Card Hedge was already taken. So we had to go with Card Hedger. So that's where the confusion comes from on that, I think, sometimes. But listen, it's 2023. We identify as however.
I'd say half the time it's called Card Hedge, half the time they call it Card Hedge.
Yeah, it's all good. It all goes to the same spot. So
it all goes to the same place, yeah.
Exactly. But yes, so you'll be able to upload your inventory onto Mascot. You'll be able to understand what it's worth, and then you'll be able to essentially use that as a context price, if you will, to decide, kind of how you want to list some cards for sale.
And I think that's huge. I know for me, there's nothing that's more of a pain than trying to figure out pricing and then listing, and I'm going back and forth. I've got two screens going. Having something that's centralized to just be able to go, oh, all right, that's what that's worth. Sweet. That to me, that time piece, that saves me. That shaves easily. If I took 100 cards, that shaves
an hour.
Well, way more than that.
You think so? Yeah. That's
because
huge.
going back and forth, whether it's you're going to eBay or you're going to Card Hedge or wherever it is, you go 130 point, whatever. It just, you're constantly going back and forth between the screen. Now you're not going to have to do that. You just look and you go, oh, okay. And then you type in the price. I think that's great. Arena Club, who's a partner of ours, integrated us into their site as well. Yep. And Omar and I are on there, trying to swindle each other in trades and this and that. And it's so beneficial to having that pricing data right on the same screen as what you're trying to make.
Yeah, it depends on what side of the deal you're on, because I was trying to swindle JD and it didn't work because our information was on there and he's like, dude, this is a $10 card. Get out of here. And I was trying to trade him for like a $200 card. So it didn't work in my favor.
Yeah.
It's both sides of it.
And then so like the collector piece, I guess, is pretty straightforward. The small time guys like myself,
big time guys like yourself.
Well, I'm big time in my head, but that's all right. Somebody's going to cheer for me.
Local celebrity.
Yeah. But like for dealers, I could see this being like a real game changer for like the larger eBay sellers,
especially on the wax side.
Yeah, man. Like this is just. Have you guys thought of this, that the opportunity that this may create for people that have been maybe kind of on the fence of maybe going full tilt into sports cards a little bit more? Have you given that thought? Like this product could actually create even more expansion in the hobby?
Well, I'll say I've done a lot of tests myself, and it was something that I did before taking the opportunity, really just seeing how much value I thought this product could add to the market. It is amazing how much time it saves. I got to say, right? The ability to essentially, and I was doing this on a demo earlier today. I essentially took, a blank collection on Mascot, dragged and dropped about 200 different items into my collection. All that took a minute. Then essentially did a bulk listing right onto eBay, My Slabs, and Shopify. I created 200 listings, like optimized good listings, in literally 2 or 3 minutes. If I were to try to do that, 200 individual listings, multiple channels without Mascot, it might take hours.
Yeah. So walk us through that, Ezra. That's interesting, because so here's my thing. I got into selling probably about, what would you say, JD, about 2-3 months ago?
Yep.
And I started off with a stack of cards. I actually, not a stack. I got a box over here full of cards that I went through my stuff. I was like, you know what? These cards, I have them. They're nice cards. They don't really mean a whole lot to me. I want to get them on eBay. I'm going to sell them. Whatever I get for them, I get for them. I'm not attached to them. I just want to make a few bucks so that I can move it into something else that I want. And I started listing, and that is the pain in the ass, right? Is listing. I gotta snap the picture, right? And a lot of these cards are graded. Some of them are raw, but for the most part, I'd say it's about 50-50 split, graded cards, raw cards. And as I'm taking pictures and as I'm looking, I'm like, all right, that's a $10 card. All right, I'll list it for $10. Like, it took me at least a good 2 or 3 hours just to list 50 cards, right? Yep. And then the next day, I spent probably the same amount of time listing another 50 cards. And I finally got, my goal was to get my little store up to 100 listings. And it took me the better part of a good 4 hours spread across maybe 2 or 3 days to get everything going. And then the sit and wait, right? And I'm only on eBay. That's where I got them listed. So what you just mentioned was, hey, I have this collection of cards. I'm going to drag and drop them and get them listed into eBay within a matter of minutes. So without getting too much into a tutorial, right? Like, can you kind of just walk me through the workflow on how that process starts and how it opens?
Do you want to show, Ezra? I have the site up. I can put in one of my cards real quick if you want me to share the screen.
Oh yeah, there you go, Bubba. Do that.
All right, so let me do this, because I think it's like I run another podcast, a baseball podcast, with a couple buddies. Can you see the screen right now?
Oh, this is interesting.
Yep.
So serial number is what? Is
so
the
watch this. I have a PSA slab right in front of me. I'm going to enter the serial
I got
number.
one if you need one.
You don't want to do that because then I'll sell it.
Yeah, no, I don't want you selling my Shinguns, my prized possessions, man.
All right, so it's syncing.
Holy crap. Okay, let's stop right there, first of all.
Now it's done.
Refresh.
What's done? Hold on. What's done? Whoa. Easy, big fella.
Watch. There it is. Right there.
There is what? What did you just do?
So I have to add an image on this one because PSA, this was prior to them adding images. Let me find one that has an image. I'm going to show you again. I'll do another one.
So do this one because this is I think I have with a 7.
Give me one like a 7 serial number.
All right, 707 63 694.
All right, so I click sync. Now it's going to sync over here. Okay, now it's done.
Okay, so stop right there. Let's Ezra,
there it is.
Walk us through what's actually going on there.
Yeah, so we partner with all the major grading companies: PSA, Beckett, SGC, CGC, and TAG. As of right now, other grading companies might be coming on the market too. But essentially, our APIs are reading all the data that's coming from what the grading companies are storing. A lot of grading companies pretty much store everything about one's card in their database.
Sure.
So essentially, our API is talking to their API. Our system is talking to their system. We're pulling in all the data on the card directly. When the images are saved, and a lot of them are, but some of them not. Some grading companies store more images than others. Whatever data the grading company stores directly will be pulled in automatically for you. So just by entering in a serial number, and by the way, that's just one way to pull in items. You could also, if you just had the image and nothing else, you could drag and drop the image. If you just had, a spreadsheet, no images, no nothing, but just the serial numbers on a spreadsheet, you could drag an entire spreadsheet, and the same process will occur. It works almost just as fast when it's 1,000 items versus one item.
Mm-hmm.
But just from doing that, you pretty much have a perfect listing. And then from there, you click on that little pencil icon. You can create your marketplace descriptions. You could, do your attributes. You can change anything you want about it. And then literally
selling this card on Omar.
Yeah.
So what JD is doing right now is he's essentially kind of fine tuning what would have already been the metadata based on the metadata that was pulled from PSA to sort of fine tune the listing, right?
Exactly. If there's anything about the data pulled in directly from the grading companies that you want to change or that may be incorrect, hopefully most of them are correct, or you want to essentially customize your any kind of text or copy that sort of gets attached to the marketplace listing, you could do it all right there. But aside from that, all you really from here, all you got to do is just price it. You price it and you click list, and boom, you're there. And literally, it's just a matter of integrating your marketplace accounts. Once you integrate the marketplace accounts, by clicking one button, you can blast it out to not just one marketplace now. You can blast it out to as many marketplaces as we integrate with. So our challenge and our opportunity is to get as many marketplaces signed up, as many marketplaces integrated, so that instead of just being dependent on the eyeballs that one marketplace has, why not have your cards in front of as many people as possible? The more people will see it, the better probability of the card selling and selling quickly and selling for the right price.
So now multiple marketplaces. That's because I've ran into this issue before where I've had something on my slabs, I'll have something on my card post, and then I'll have something on eBay. The same thing. I'll list it 2 or 3 different places. It sells in one. I forget about it. How does that work?
It sells on that one.
I'll sell the card 3 different times, and all of a sudden I'm getting scammer emails from people telling me, "Oh, I just saw you sold this to somebody else." So it's like, okay, how does that work on this platform?
This is one of the cooler things I think we've solved for, which is essentially we've removed any risk of double sales for you. When it sells on one platform, our technology will automatically remove all of your other listings.
That's tremendous. That's true. See, like, this is dummy proof. Like, it's legit dummy proof. Like,
this is interesting. Okay. Yeah, that would make sense because it's like, well, if you sell it, then I don't want to sell it 3 times.
It sells. You only sell once. All the marketplaces will be happy because we've eliminated any risk of a double sale. And then, by the way, what the system will do is essentially take all of your reporting, all of your activity, any kind of profit and loss on that card. If you've entered in, any kind of purchase costs or purchase prices.
Yep.
So it'll give you the whole kind of back end as well. Pretty soon, you also have the ability to kind of print out essentially air bills or UPS bills. We've negotiated really good prices for people who are shipping cards. So hopefully we can save money for people. So not only is the platform free, but we'll also save you guys some money. So the whole kind of suite of tools for a seller is just, it's so much easier. It's so much faster. And this really blew me away. It wasn't as developed when I saw it the first time, but we saw the potential in it and thought that this really has the ability to be, again, I think we've said it a bunch of times, but I'll say it again. We think it could be like the central operating system for collectible sellers and just for people who want to manage them.
And, I gotta say, we're happy to be a part of this because this is cool. Like for real, like the listing piece, the data piece. The one question I did have, I just thought of this. Let's say, because I get in these zones and I go crazy buying sprees. Will it import my purchases as well from eBay or MySlabs or any other partner site that comes in the future and break it down? Or
yes, this is something that we're working towards, which is essentially to be able to scrape data across marketplaces. We want to make it so you make a purchase, automatically drops into Mascot. You make a sale, all of that's
interesting.
We also want to integrate with essentially anywhere where your inventory is being held, right? So if you have a big PSA set registry account, for instance, you want to just import your PSA set registry.
Yeah,
the number of applications for this are really limitless, and that's really what got me excited about the opportunity.
Yeah, I can only imagine seeing that type of technology for the first time, especially from your entrepreneurial side, Ezra, and then going, well, this is a no-brainer, right? Like, I mean, because it just, like you said, I'm not even, obviously we have our partnership with Card Hedge, but I'm not even involved in it. I'm just, I've just started learning a lot about it in the last week or two from JD. And I really haven't put a whole lot. I mean, this is my first time that I'm actually like focusing on learning about it, but the possibilities of integrating, everything's done on API these days, right? In terms of, holding data and being able to make all these calls and bringing in all this information. And so, being able to integrate, PSA's API, SGC's API, and being able to bring in all that information, not only from this standpoint, right? What we just did right now, this little demo that we did, but also being able to take collections. JD beat me to the question, right? Because if you look at my purchase history on eBay, I mean, it's just a slew of stuff, right? And if there was a 1-click or 2-3-click application where I can go, hey, scrub my purchase history over the last 6 months and bring in everything that I bought, and then I'll tell you what I still have, and then if we're going to list it again, we'll list it again. That's you want to talk about efficiency from a selling standpoint. Now, a guy like me, I don't really do a whole lot of selling. But the majority of the reason why I don't do a whole lot of selling is just because it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, right? It's not, and I just highlighted what I did earlier, right? Where I got my little store up to 100 listings. I'm down to like 50 something listings. I sold a significant amount of cards because I was really active over a 2 or 3 day period of just adding and adding and adding. And a lot of folks don't understand that eBay algorithm, they really like when you're active adding cards, right? And if with Mascot I can add 50 cards in 2 minutes, well, I'll be as active as some of the big dogs that are getting their stuff pushed big time. And that's just huge.
About selling being a pain in the ass. There's actually some pretty interesting data on this. There's about 10-to-1 more buyers of collectibles than there are sellers of collectibles. Which is interesting, right? So there's 10 times more buyers than sellers, which this stuff has to get recycled somewhere, right? You don't, your hearse is not going to be pulling some sort of U-Haul truck. I stole a line from Ursa recently, but so like the stuff has to go somewhere. That leads me to believe that what's happening to this stuff, and I think one reason why there's so many more buyers and sellers is because it's so much easier to buy.
Absolutely.
It is a pain in the ass to create a marketplace listing. You could consign it to an auction house, but then you got to there's all those pain points with it too. this product really makes the selling experience much easier. But even if you don't want to sell, Omar, right? If you're someone who just wants to buy, it's still a great tool for just people who want to buy and keep track of their inventory, just to know what
absolutely.
See breakdowns of it, see their costs, see how much they're spending, see what their activity is. Then, when we get to the product to the point where, you buy something, boom, it's in Mascot. It just becomes so automatic. It becomes really an operating system. And you can almost leave it on autopilot at that point.
So I've been a big, sorry, JD. I've been a big pusher of like almost the entire identity for my channel has always been enjoying the hobby, right? As opposed to maybe some of the more like monetized reasons to join the hobby. I mean, obviously over the last 24 to 36 months, there's been some really big financial incentive reasons for people to join the hobby, right? I mean, things just blew up. There's a lot of arbitrage opportunities out there for folks that know what they're looking at, that know how to buy and know how to sell. But what I've grown to realize over the last, couple of years, especially with the channel and being able to talk to so many different people, especially like with JD, we got another buddy of mine that buddy of ours that we chat on a daily basis with, is that selling can also really enhance your enjoyment in the hobby, right? Because, what I learned in throwing up those 100 cards on eBay is that, I made some money. Like it wasn't necessarily that I made out and I could pay my mortgage or anything like that, but I made enough money to like really start buying into some other stuff. And to your point, Ezra, right? It's like it's so much easier to buy, it's so much harder to sell. But I almost feel now, as I've matured in my thought in the hobby, is that you almost have to sell, right? I mean, unless you're really looking to put a whole lot of money into things, right? Discretionary income, whatever it is that you have from a discretionary income standpoint that you decide that you're going to feed into it. I have a cap. I'm famous for having $100 cap. I'm never going to spend more than $100 on a card, because from my discretionary income, that's what I've decided to earmark for reckless spending in the hobby. But if I'm selling, right, and I'm constantly flipping, that gets bolstered, and then that allows me to buy bigger cards and have even more enjoyment and get even a bigger adrenaline rush. But once again, it comes down to the pain in the ass of selling.
Right.
And this platform can alleviate that pain and that pressure, and then allow you to sell and enjoy the hobby a little bit more. And I'm just thinking out loud here, but that's a really big
for sure. Now, one of the questions I have, and I'm sure there's other people that have this question. I list, some of the marketplaces that have come about. My Slabs, buysportscards.com, mycardpost.com. I'm sure I'm missing others. PWCC, Arena Club, whatever it is, right? Their big kind of push, or at least My Slabs early on. Actually, My Slabs, My Card Post, and Buy Sports Cards all have similar with the fees. Right, no less fees than eBay, because people always bitch and moan about the fees on eBay. And I've been tracking sales data, my sales data on eBay for since January, like really breaking things down. And it's like they take anywhere from 24 to 29% of a sale when you factor it all in. And so is Mascot taking a slice of the pie as well? If I list my card from your platform, does that embed some cookie or something that, oh, by the way, it's 1% here too? Is there any of that going, like fee structure at all?
We are in conversations with marketplaces on commercial arrangements around this. The goal is not to assess any additional fee onto sellers. It's really just to say, look, Mascot is going to bring marketplaces a lot of inventory. Yep. And so, any proceeds that we derive will likely be from the marketplace side, not from an additional tax on.
Sure. Okay.
On sellers.
That was going to be my next question. You beat me to him, JD. That's a good point, because I mean, listen, we're not running charities here, right?
No. I mean, you gotta pay people, right? You gotta make money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I do want to follow up just on Omar's last point, because I think that's a great point, a really great point, which is, most collectors, not every collector, most collectors really have a budget, and there's only, a fixed amount of money that they can really spend or deploy into the hobby. Once, if selling is such a difficulty, and you say, you know what, I have $1,000 that I'm going to spend, and once I reach that $1,000, I'm out, I'm done, right?
Done. Yeah.
It removes money from the system. It removes 100%. The from the system. So, having a platform like this is so crucial, because you want that money to be recycled. You want that money to be, spent and traded up, and like you want the volume in the value of money to continue to multiply. And right now, selling tools are just, in our opinion, in our experience, are just really antiquated. It's way too hard. Cumbersome. Yeah. Way too cumbersome. And this tool, in my experience, and honestly, was one of the things that really attracted me to this company, was this is so much easier. It is so much easier to be able to create, a couple hundred listings in minutes. Is just a complete game changer for the industry.
Yeah. I mean, we just did a demo, and what 2 minutes? JD stole my card, and he's gonna send it.
Yep.
By the way,
now is there, as far as uploading, going back to that for a quick second, outside of taking the picture and outside of sitting here and typing in serial numbers, which are still both way faster than anything else, you also mentioned CSV. Do you guys have a pre-populated CSV spreadsheet that I could click on, or do I just create whatever I want and it'll do its thing?
Yeah, so I think we built a pretty creative tool on the CSV side. Essentially, you can put in whatever data you want, and our system should be able to read most of, if not all of it. And essentially, we'll kind of categorize the data based on what you have in your own spreadsheet, and to match it up to various columns that we use. If anyone tries it and for whatever reason is having issues, reach out. My direct email is Ezra with Mascot, or contact our support at withmascot.com. Would be more than happy to work with you.
Now, also, I'm just thinking, like, between our company and your company here, would there potentially be an option? Like, I've spent all my time since I've been with Card Hedge, when I buy things, putting them into my collection. Would there ever be that possibility where we could sync up Card Hedge and Mascot to where my collection just comes right over?
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Absolutely.
That's a good point, JD. Because
I have a couple good ideas a week, boys, and there was one of them. So I've got one left.
There's something about a broken clock that comes to mind. I think.
Are you able to export the data as of right now? If you have a collection of stuff in Card Hedge, are you able to export it directly?
Yeah.
So as of right now, it's probably somewhat available. If you export your collection from Card Hedge, I'll call it Card Hedge right now, from Card Hedge.
Yeah.
And export it and then import it. Or drag and drop it into Mascot. That'll probably work. But I like the idea of coming up with a more high tech solution there too.
Cool.
Yeah, because we track it everything from depending on what you guys pull from. Well, you're going to pull from all the major. I'm assuming the major four, right? PSA, SGC, BGS, CSG, now CGC.
Yep.
Right? What are they? CGC now? Yeah.
And tag also at the moment.
Tag. Okay, that's another one. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so that's
we don't track tag yet.
We don't track tag
yet.
Okay,
we track HGA.
HGA.
Yeah, okay, there's a couple others out there that are somewhat,
because part of our collection management tool is going to distinguish what grading company, what the grade is,
right, in
your collection, and then if you have it raw, you can also signify that it's raw as well, which is interesting. Interesting.
So, I got kind of a random fun question for you. So since COVID, the sports card industry has completely boomed, right? We've seen ridiculous pricing on sales. I like to call it fake February in 2021, where cards were selling, like any card was selling for minimum of like $100, right? Just to, throw a number out there. But we've also seen many new companies come to fruition.
Yeah.
New tech, new opportunities, new businesses, whatever, and new card shops, right? What's one piece of advice as a CEO of someone who's been a CEO now in two companies in the sports card hobby, collectibles, whatever space you want to call it? What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone thinking about or just about to start their own business in the sports card or collectible space?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you're right. I mean, since really the beginning of COVID, I think a lot's made about, the rise and fall of prices. And
yeah.
It absolutely has happened. But I think the biggest thing that COVID has brought to this market is just a massive influx of talent, technology, entrepreneurship, and capital. I remember when I first got back into this industry, and I came from a little bit of a sexier industry, at least my parents thought so, in finance. And I came over here, and I remember telling people, I'm getting into the collectibles world, and they almost looked at me like I had a third head. It was not cool at all. It was not sexy at all. It was just, people didn't get it. And now, fast forward 3-4 years later, when you say you're working collectibles, there is sort of a cool factor there.
Right.
You see companies like Blackstone, you see companies like Fanatics, you see companies like Amazon, you see, Stevie Cohen, a prominent hedge funder, and Dan Sondheim getting the collectors. You see, big deals and big companies getting involved here, and it gives it a lot of credibility. Right. And with the credibility has come a lot of capital, a lot of entrepreneurship.
Sure.
I think that really is the best thing that's come out of COVID, irrespective of what prices have done. I think what my biggest piece of advice, is really just, it's all about relationships, right? At the end of the day, truthfully, it's all about relationships. It's a big industry, but it's a pretty small industry. Mm-hmm. And, I think reputation and relationships really go a long way. You're far more likely to get deals done and be successful in this industry if you know people and people like you, people respect you, people trust you.
Sure.
So I don't think that's different than any other industry.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's a good piece of advice, though.
In this industry, it's small. And the companies you really want to work with, and having good relationships really opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, I really think that's a good point, because also this industry is very emotional driven, right? Yeah. I mean, the main reason why we all collect is because of emotions, right? And if part of what you're doing is taking advantage of those people's emotions, it's going to come out, right? I mean, ultimately it's going to bleed through, regardless of how much of a happy face or a front you try to put on. If you're not part of that side of it, like one of the things that me and JD talk about all the time, right, is all these new companies popping up, and then there isn't a collector in any of them, and it's like, okay, well then you won't understand me, right? You won't understand what I want. And if you're just looking at it from a margin standpoint, and you're not really trying to do anything to like push the hobby forward, then you're not. I just don't see longevity for those types of things. And we've seen a lot of those come and go in the last 24 months, right? And but that, I mean, relationships and making sure that people just understand how genuine you are, and what your real intentions are is always a good piece of advice, because that's, people can read right through that. It's insane how people can read right through that.
It's not the easiest of industries to build new companies. I mean, it's pretty skeptical.
No, very skeptical.
It's a very skeptical audience. So I think patience is also another one. You don't always have overnight success. It's important to just continue to build, and even if you're at one company or two companies or whatever it is, if you have a real passion for the industry, you'll stay in it. I think you want to be able to kind of make the market better and more efficient. And I'm still really excited about how many new companies continue to build and get started. Mm-hmm. Even if ones don't succeed, I think they really move the ball forward, right? And they
absolutely
people thinking about things in different ways. And I think this industry for a long time has needed innovation. It's needed to be kind of blasted forward. I mean, we look at even Mascot, right? I mean, as revolutionary as it is in collectibles, it exists in other categories. It exists in tickets, right? You can have Omar, you've got a Rockets jersey in the back, right? So you could have tickets to your to the Rockets game,
right?
And you could put it on. You could use systems like Mascot for tickets to put the same tickets on StubHub, Vivid,
right? Put it on 3 or 4 different places. Yeah, I've actually done that.
Right. So like things like that, trends that have really taken shape in other industries really haven't taken shape yet here in collectibles. And it requires entrepreneurs, and it requires, kind of people who come in to just sort of advance the ball forward. So, always try to be as supportive as I can and we can, just to kind of embrace that.
That's a great piece of advice too, from both of you, because Omar and I talk about this quite a bit on the podcast. I think when people hear tech or technology, they think instant. They think, or they're either like this or they think instant, right? And what I've learned from my involvement with Card Hedge is, yes, technology is great, but it also takes a little bit of time to make sure it's done right. And it's done in a way that when you do roll it out to users, people aren't going to get on it and go, this site sucks, or you don't have this, or you don't do that, or da 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 da. Why don't you have my card, or blah blah blah. So like, that's the other piece. There's companies that haven't even hit the market yet, that are still in beta or still, trying to work through the kinks, that, there's still more coming. And that's the exciting piece. Like you said, Ezra, some are going to succeed. Some may never, ever make it to market, but they will either hope to, move us down the line and keep us moving forward. Whether that's by an acquisition, whether that's by, teasing something out there that someone else sees and says, oh, you know what?
Right.
But, I think that's always important in this space, because we live in such a instant gratification world now with Amazon, and, you order something today and it's at your door tomorrow. It's very, what have you done for me lately? And it's like, when things take a second, it's like, everybody has that losing their mind.
Like, if you think about what have been like the biggest advances within sports cards, we'll talk about sports cards for a second, or the last, kind of 20, 30 years. I would say grading is probably like the one thing that has really stuck on the most.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how long it took PSA to have commercial success.
Yeah, exactly.
It took 10 years, right?
Yeah.
10, 15 years.
I've had so many conversations with Joe Orlando, who was really at PSA. Essentially, I think he was like the third or fourth employee. He ultimately rose to president and CEO.
Yep.
But he said you wouldn't believe how long it took for people to adopt PSA. People, thought grading was crazy. They thought it was a horrible idea. It took PSA 10 years. They were almost bankrupt numerous times during that period of time. And now PSA is one of, if not the most preeminent brands in collectibles. Things take time. And it's not always, sort of an early adoption type of audience that you're building for.
Correct.
Yeah, it's definitely not early adoption. I mean, because I was telling JD this earlier today. I just got a shipment. I've been sort of on it, and this is kind of back to the whole idea that it's like super easy to buy. It's ridiculously easy to buy. I bought a bunch of old Beckett's, like Beckett basketball price guides from like the early 90s, like 90, 91, 92. And as I'm kind of going through them, like from like mid 90s, I'm seeing PSA ads, where they were taking out ad space in Beckett.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like that they've been at it for this long, huh?
Yeah.
And they, I mean, back when I was doing my my PSA pop report videos, like a year ago, for them to hit 1 million cards in 1 month was insane, right? Like that, and now they're doing it like clockwork. Like it's, I just can't imagine the amount of growth.
Even companies like SGC is another good example.
Yeah.
SGC has been around for a very long time, but it probably wasn't until 2019 where people really consider them sort of a preeminent grading company. PWCC, they've been around since the 90s. People think they're kind of a recent upstart. They've been around since the late 90s.
Yeah,
so it can take time.
Yeah.
So let's end on something fun. And now I actually might know the answer to these based off what I've learned about you in this podcast. So I'm going to ask them, and hopefully, what's your favorite sport?
To play or to watch?
Just to whatever. Watch. We'll go with watch.
In general.
We'll go with watch.
Watch, I'd say either baseball or football. Really depends. As of right now, I'm pretty gung-ho in basketball because my Knicks, for the first time since I can remember, are relevant again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's since like 95.
Yeah. Well, since we beat them in the finals, but yeah.
All right. So, who's your favorite player?
I don't really have a favorite player today, to be honest with you. My favorite players growing up, I'll give you the favorite players growing up. And I was a diehard sports fan growing up. I was a big Jeter guy. I grew up in New York in the 90s. Jeter was my idol. I remember emulating his batting stance. My entire room was filled with Derek Jeter stuff.
Yeah.
Basketball, I was a big Larry Johnson guy. Love Larry Johnson.
Grandmama.
Grandmama.
Huge LJ fan. Hockey player was Brian Leach of the Rangers.
Yeah.
Football, Giants. Always been a Giants fan. I used to love Jason Sehorn.
Dude, all right. You and I have something in common. So
JD's just
because I'm up in New England, I'm a weird guy in New England because I'm not a Patriots fan. I'm a Giants fan.
There we go. Smart man.
So and Lou is a god awful Philadelphia Eagle fan, and all he does is rip me at all times about
The
the
group
Giants.
chats during the football season are the best.
The Giants have been bad for a long time, and I take my beatings, but I always have the 2 Super Bowl victories over the Patriots where my friends literally kicked me out of their houses and like, don't talk to us for a month. But that's pretty. So I was guessing based off of your Michigan attendance, I would hear a little bit football and I would hear Tom Brady in there. So that's interesting. My guy Michigan is I'm a big Ty Law fan. Ty Law fan.
It's a good one. So I was at Michigan, just to tie it all together, Giants, Michigan. I was at Michigan when Mario Manningham was our.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And I actually had a class with Mario Manningham. I actually played against my fraternity at Michigan, played against the Michigan football team in the softball championships. We got smoked, absolutely smoked. It was fun. And I'll never forget, Manningham hit the longest softball home run I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
Absolutely crushed it. Absolutely.
Really?
Crushed it. Yeah.
And then he made that catch from Eli.
And then he made the catch. Yeah.
Which that ball, there's nobody on the Eagles that could have thrown that ball. Nobody. Not Donovan McNabb.
It was Tyree who made the helmet catch, but Manningham.
No, not the helmet catch. No, I'm talking about Manningham's catch on the sideline because Eli dropped that in on a dime right on the sideline. There's no quarterback that's ever played for the Eagles that could have done that. Eli's the man. So that's just a little shot at Lou. Cool, man. Cool. So, and then last question for you, unless Omar's got one. I heard on Jeremy Lee's show the other night when you were on, you said you had about 50 cards in your collection. Yeah. Out of that 50, what's your favorite card?
That is a really good question. That's a really good question. So, I guess piggybacking my other answer, pretty much all those guys I just named, I do have their rookie cards. I happen to like the Brian Leach rookie card for some reason. I love Brian Leach.
Yep.
I bought 2 of these. I only have one right here, but I have another one back at home. This is the 94 game. I don't know if you can see it. Ranger.
Yep.
Stanley Cup Game 7. So I bought 2 of these. This one was unsigned, but the other one I bought was signed by Brian Leach. Brian Leach was the
that's awesome.
Stanley Cup as well. So and
he was a hell of a defenseman, man. Him and Bork used to have some battles.
He was incredible.
Yeah, so I'm a big hockey guy too, but I'm a Bruins fan. So we don't see eye to eye.
Yeah, I've got a Jeter foil rookie.
Yep.
Which is
cool. Nice.
Yep.
SP.
Right
nice.
on.
Card to have.
That's a hell of a card to get, man. It's so hard to get that graded in a good condition. That surface is just unforgiving. I mean, you could breathe on it and scratch it and forget about your 10, right? It's insane. No Fab 5?
No Fab 5, but yeah, I've been really collecting mostly Yankees, Knicks, Rangers. With the Giants, I do have an LT rookie, which I like a lot.
Okay.
So I've got an LT rookie. I also have been collecting a bunch of vintage Yankee stuff. Like for some reason, I've found myself collecting Roger Maris.
Yeah.
And not necessarily his rookie cards, but more just from the 61, 62.
Yeah.
So I've got the 61 Maris, the 62 Maris. So
I've got the 61 Maris myself. It's funny. I was just looking at his rookie cards last night. I find them to be sort of undervalued. Given he's one of those guys where if you look at his career numbers, and not to get all nerded out on that, but like you look at his career numbers and nothing jumps off the page as far as like this guy's a Hall of Famer. But my point I made in actually the video I released today was when you think of the historical significance Roger Maris had on the game of baseball, and he's just a name that is synonymous with baseball. You're never going to talk baseball and not somehow come up with Roger Maris at some point in a conversation, right? Maybe if you're, if you're talking, Red Sox Yankees rivalry right now or something like that, you're not bringing up Maris, but you know what I'm saying? Like you're into talking baseball. You know the names and you understand the importance. And that's why I looked at that card and I was like, man, for something so significant, a human being that was so significant in a major American sport, playing for the Yankees in the 60s when they were just crushing people, with Mantle and him and Whitey Ford and Yogi and Yogi wasn't around. Yogi wasn't around then. But you go through the list of guys and it's like Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer. And then there's Maris, 2-time MVP, did what he did, broke the Babe's record, endured tremendous stress that season, and hatred from Yankees fans. So anyway, sorry, I'm nerding out, man. I'm nerding out.
As a Yankee fan, we've heard this way too much.
Yeah.
Not a true Yankee, like as Yankee fan, you have guys who are true Yankees, the Posadas, the Marianos, the Jeters, or Bernie, true Yankees. But if you're a free agent signing, if you weren't sort of a homegrown Yankee, you're not considered a true Yankee. So I think he suffers a bit, but I think that's a great point. I mean, when you think of the 61 Yankees, Maris, Mantle, and you look at, obviously Mantle prices are stratospheric and crazy. So why it's sort of like a derivative playoff of Mantle. I like it.
Now that I know you're a Yankees fan, I got to ask you this question. I always ask every Yankees fan I come across this question.
Ohtani is coming to the Yankees, confirmed.
Now, so Ohtani, I have got these two conspiracy theories. The Red Sox are either getting Ohtani or they're getting Juan Soto, one way or another. They have to stop being cheap. I can't handle it anymore. If Ohtani comes to the Yankees, I'm going to cry.
This is where he's going right here, buddy.
Old Yankee Stadium or new Yankee Stadium? Which do you prefer?
All
right, we can have you back on. We can have you.
That's JD's litmus test right there.
Absolutely crushed when they knocked it down. I grew up in that old Yankee Stadium. I love that. I mean, it was a shithole.
It was a shithole, but you walk in there, man, and you're like,
it was a shithole, but it was awesome. It was just the same way Fenway's kind of a shithole, but it's amazing.
Fenway's a shithole too. Fenway, you get in the seats and you're like,
it's the nostalgia of it. It's the character of it all. It's all the history that's taken place.
But still, it's expensive to go there. I want to be at least somewhat comfortable when I go. I don't want my knees in my throat, and I'm like the person next to me is like,
people were a lot smaller in the 50s.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Damn Doritos. So Ezra, man,
corn syrup wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
And fitting us in. And I know you're busy and getting ready to go to the National. And thank you. Anything as far as you want to shout out the websites again and all that stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Our website is www.withmascot.com. We're at With Mascot on pretty much any social channel. If you're ever in the National, we'll be there. We have a booth in the corporate section, booth number 329.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. All right, my man. Thank you very much. Hang on here. We're going to end the recording, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.